Kia ora everyone, and welcome back to Humankind. My name's Jumbo Pixel, and today we're going to talk about the most important metric in Humankind, and that is fame. Fame and its relationship to era stars. I'll be showing some relevant footage on screen, so if anything I'm saying is a little bit confusing, do just take a look, because it will be there. Now, fame is the number one key resource in Humankind, okay? The empire with the greatest fame at the end of the game wins the game. Okay? Fame is your measure of victory. Think about it not necessarily like, oh my god, Britney famous, but rather as a measure of success, as a measure of prestige. Okay? And fame actually has this incredible ability, because it's standardized, it can capture success across a whole range of categories, from militaristic to cultural to scientific. I'll explain more as the video goes on, but let me now delve into what is fame. So as I say, it's the key resource in Humankind, and it determines who wins the game. Every accomplishment in Humankind, right? Whether it be moral choices, whether it be battles won, all of those things build you fame and potentially leave an impact on the world around you. Now, the most significant way to gain fame is by achieving era stars. They are the most, at least, reliable way to produce fame. You can see them, you can see what you need to do, and you can see how much fame you're going to get from them. And each era you'll have some more. We'll talk about them a little bit later in the video, so do stay tuned. You have to keep in mind that earning fame from era stars is reliable, but the fame rewards from them do actually decay each turn. So the longer it takes you to get them, the less fame you will get. Now, the other main way to earn fame is by a mechanic called competitive deeds. You can think about these like global challenges, similar to, I guess, the way that Civilization 6 manages era score, right? The first person to circumnavigate the globe, for example, gets some additional era score. These competitive deeds work the same, and I'll throw them up on screen now so you can see all of them. But basically, these are one-off challenges. The first empire to complete them gets the fame reward. And you can see it's things like get every access to every resource available in the game, right? That's one of the big ones. But then there are also smaller ones, like be the first to discover the technology writing, be the first to discover Research Institute, explore the world and discover its wonders, own a nuclear weapon, build a holy site, complete a nuclear test, or even complete a lunar landing project. You can see that these competitive deeds stretch across all of the different affinities in the game. So there's something for science, there's something for aesthetics, there's something for militarists, and everyone in between. Okay, so that's how you earn fame and what fame is. Now let's transition into talking about era stars, because you need to understand era stars if you want to understand fame, right? As I said, era stars are the main reliable way of earning fame in Humankind. Era stars are earned by completing quests or objectives related to your culture, okay? So whatever culture you're playing as will have these set objectives within the era, right? Era stars are spread across the cultural affinities, those different categories, right? Agrarian, expansionist, builder, merchant, militarist, science, and then the aesthetes, the aesthetic one. There are 3 era stars to unlock per category in an era. And the era star that matches your cultural affinity will yield you twice the amount of fame. So there is definitely a reason to stick with your cultural affinity. It's not just some garbage thing that you should ignore. For example, if you're playing as the Americans, who are an expansionist empire, an expansionist culture, then your fame rewards from completing the expansionist era star challenges are doubled, right? So there's really an incentive to stick with those. The categories do include some minor objectives as well, like building extensions, taking territory, and major ones, like, realigning your culture or destroying the world. The objectives can be completed actually multiple times, but with increasing requirements. So you'll see there's, at the moment, sort of 3 or 4 tiers within it. So it might be kill 15 military units, kill 30 military units, kill 50 military units, or something within the era. When you transcend transcend culture, you'll transcend, of course, into a different focus. But if you, when you change your culture, I should stipulate, you'll change your different era focus. So there is some rationale in sticking with the same culture, transcending through it, and keeping those era star challenges. All of those objectives, once completed, will earn you the era star that is appropriate, right? Era stars, of course, you need to get a certain amount to progress to the next era. So you want to be earning them anyway. You want to be getting around, 7 per era or whatever. And also you'll get the fame from them. In the Neolithic era, when you don't have a culture, it's a little bit different. The fame stars and therefore the era stars and therefore the fame rewards largely focus on just growing population, acquiring knowledge, and hunting down animals. But then once you make it through into the actual proper eras of the game, the ancient era and the contemporary era, you'll have a star category for each affinity. And like I say, builders, expansionists, merchants, so on and so forth, and they'll each require you to do a certain thing. So the merchant one requires you to earn a certain amount of money, the militaristic one requires you to destroy a certain number of units, so on and so forth. One other thing to mention is competitive spirit. So when an empire is the first one to enter an era, right? So if you're ahead, you're earning your era stars, all of its opponents will unlock that era star category, okay? It's basically a catch-up mechanic that not many people know about in the game, but it sort of passively rewards era stars to each turn to those cultures who are behind, who aren't in the next era. Era stars will be unlocked faster as more and more empires enter that next era, leaving the others in the dust, right? But don't stress because, if you're winning, don't stress because you should note that the era star categories will reset and be removed when entering a new era, so it doesn't actually grant any of the fame to those disadvantaged people. Now, that is an overview of eras in Humankind. And we've already discussed the role of fame and how we really think of it more as success and notoriety. And now I just want to touch on how it sort of comes together and how you actually win the game. And I'll chuck up the winning screen on here now so you can see what it looks like when the game calculates your faith, displays all of your faith from the different eras. It tells you where you earned it, how much you earned, and then it does actually go through your opponents as well. And then finally at the very end you get a breakdown with the scores. So it's really fascinating. So do take a look at that as I talk through this. So I think that the era system is both great and flawed, and I'm willing to actually go full on and do a whole video on this if you'd like to hear more of my opinions, more of my subjective opinions. But in a nutshell, basically, it is the only victory condition in Humankind, unless of course you want to literally obliterate the world and be the only one still in existence, right? And fame sort of captures all victories in one, right? Through those competitive deeds, where you get fame for being the first one to build a holy site, discover writing, launch the lunar project, whatever it might be. But also through those era stars and through generating additional fame in a line with your culture. Now, the way that it pulls all the victory conditions together is actually quite clever. What it's doing is it's standardizing a victory condition. So instead of your 1000 science leading towards you going to the moon and then you win because you made it to the moon, your 1000 science maybe leads you to the moon, but crucially, it's unlocking you fame. In the same way that another empire who may be earning gold, right? They're a merchant empire, they're focusing on growth, they're earning lots of gold. Potentially, right, instead of them in another strategy game, you might spend that gold on military and go domination, or you might spend that gold on diplomacy and win that way. In Humankind, you're rewarded purely for being rich. You're rewarded fame for being rich. Likewise, if you have the most impressive military units and you destroy a lot of enemy ones and you take a lot of cities, you're again not rewarded by having to go full on for a domination victory and destroy everyone. But instead you're rewarded for what you do, for the victories you achieve, for the units you destroy. And that, again, is measured by fame. What we, in essence, have is a standardized currency for victory. Okay? And I am more than happy to talk more about this in another video, but it is more of my subjective thoughts and opinions. So for this video, I'll leave it there because this has been more of an analytical and objective guide. If you enjoyed it, Thank you so much for watching, for starters. But if you enjoyed it, I'd really love it if you could leave a like rating it. It means a lot to me and it helps out the channel. And if you want to subscribe, we're a wee growing community and we'd love to have you on board. Thanks for watching, everybody.